And we are live. Hey, good. My heat just went off. Perfect. So,
Nice.
man, welcome. Frank Shatina here with the Integrated Man. And I've got a special guest tonight, Chris Estevez. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hello, man. I'm good, Frankie. How are you today?
Uh, good. Good now. It's been got a lot of stuff done today. Had a relaxing day at home. We didn't have to drive anywhere today, so that was nice.
Oh, that's good.
Driving, so my hip flexors enjoyed that.
Yeah, good,
But,
good.
we did have to spend some desk time doing some stuff, but feeling great right now. Well fed, well rested, good looking as ever, and happy to be with you, my friend.
Right back at you. Glad to be here.
Well,
I'm glad to be where I am too. It's 73 degrees here, so I'm happy.
yeah, you're Taliban. Briefly before we get into it, that where you are and why.
Yeah, well, I'm in Jupiter, Florida, and my place here in Jupiter, Florida. I like to spend more time here, but I usually spend either the first between 4 and 6 weeks of the year here. I opened an office in Palm Beach, a little satellite office, and the why is very simple. Winter is my kryptonite. It's as avid as an outdoorsman as I am. I don't ski. I don't snowmobile. Kind of like a hibernating bear once the temperature drops under 35. So I try to just knock off, a month, at least a month of my winter down here. I work, but I work where it's 80 degrees. So it's more fun.
Gotcha. And didn't you say that you've been doing this now for 6-7 years?
It's 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started it the first year I was separated. And I said, hey, you know what? I don't have a reason to be in. My children were, at that time I had one in college. The other one I think was a junior in high school. So they didn't really need me, on a day-to-day basis. So I said, the first year I came, I just worked from the townhouse, and then I opened a little space with another wealth manager who's down here full time. And I pay him a little bit of rent, and I got a space and a person that works down here. And actually, it worked out well. And I grew my client base down here a little bit. So
Nice.
from people retiring and giving me referrals, and to doing a little marketing work while I'm here, it's paid off. It's paid off. It's been worthwhile.
Very nice. Very nice. We got one person in the chat, but I always say this, guys, in the chat, I can't see who you are. All we see is Facebook user and then the comment that you make. So I'm sorry. And every time I try to work out that technology by actually looking at the Facebook feed, I get distracted. So I don't want to be distracted from what we got going on here. So I apologize for that.
I hope some men tune in so I can virtually connect with men. I like connecting with men. So if I do it virtually, and I hope some of the men that know me personally tune in.
Can you see the chat?
I can see it
on our screen on what we're on the stream.
No, I can't see that.
So I see that.
You probably see that as the host.
Yeah.
I don't see it on my screen.
Okay. We got Mike Charman on. That's I know Mike just said hello. But I can't.
Hello, Mike.
You might be able to see. It might be easier for you to see, Chris. If you log in on your Facebook, if you have
I'd have to mute the sound. Let me do that.
Yeah.
And I'll mute the sound and I'll go on my Facebook.
We're a bunch of fucking idiots when it comes to we're very smart men. We're extremely good looking, but when it comes to this tech stuff, we're fucking idiots.
I'm going to give you a leadership tip. I delegate that to somebody who's really good at it in my life.
I love technology, but boy, oh boy, sometimes it is frustrating.
I'm the guy who uses the tech, but I only want to know what buttons to push and how I can get to the end of how I can get my goal, reach my goal. I don't want to know how it was created, and I don't want to know. I delegate that. So that's my leadership tip for tonight. Okay, we're done. Have a good night, guys.
So the last couple of weeks that I've done this, for whatever reason, I started reading. I picked up this. I found this book. It's on my bookshelf. Right. It's just this little book. I think I either grabbed it one time, leaving Barnes and Nobles, or it was in a stocking one year at Christmas or something like that, or like with a birthday gift. I don't know where I got it. I don't think I ever.
Looks like a good title. It looks like a good book.
But I've been reading it and just off a couple, and it's just the one line is with a picture like that, and I've been reading 3 or 4 of them, and it kind of, I don't know, it's come up in the conversation, or I came around to it. So first one says to be happy, right? This is about how to be happy. Find people you love.
Hell yeah.
Set goals. Finish what you started. Help others. And do a 1-day fast. Strange.
Okay.
But good. So as I was reading those, it was, like, I don't know, because the topic of the conversation, or not even the topic, I should say, because we're going to go all over the place a little bit. But the foundation of these conversations over the next few weeks will be leadership. And that's a huge, there's so much in that topic, I believe.
Oh,
it's endless. It's endless, right? And how to apply, how to do it, how to apply it, how to be it, how not to be it, how to like it. And I'm so looking forward, because it's the subject that I love speaking to. And the reason why I love speaking to it, because I know how important it is, especially to men. And there's so much difference about being a leader and leadership, being the leader. Right. So I'm really looking forward to the next, definitely 4 weeks. I'm hoping to extend it 6 weeks of conversation.
Great.
It's men.
I'll tune into all of them. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I got a lot to learn. So,
Listen, at our age, we a lot. I'll speak personally. A lot of men have passed stuff on to me. I've been lucky enough to have to apply it. And one of my, I don't know, skills, I guess, is to be able to take those experience and even the experience of others that I've been around, and deliver that wisdom, I guess, back to others in a digestible form. So I'm just a teacher at heart. I know you're a teacher also. So, absolutely. Just passing it on, right? Paying it forward.
100%.
Being a service. What did it just say? This thing's finished what you started, and find people. Well, it said it in here. It was like help others.
Help others. It's
help others, right? To be happy. Right, to be happy. It's not going to make them happy. It makes me happy helping others. So
absolutely, it's not. You get the, what do you call it, like that psychic capital. When you help somebody, you're just looking to feel it. I know. Speaking personally, I feel good when I have some kind of knowledge or some kind of wisdom, and I didn't create it. Okay, nobody creates wisdom. It was handed down to me, and I think this is a leadership thing this is something I love about leadership, is when somebody that I'm interacting with and that I led at one point then becomes the leader or a leader. I absolutely love passing on knowledge that I've gained.
Yeah, but this, and that's great. And I was just having this conversation the other day with someone. Last night, matter of fact, I had this. We were talking about this, or I was talking. I don't know. We were both talking about it's. Knowledge is easy, especially this day and age, right? In my pocket, I've got a supercomputer, right? So I can access, anyone with a cell phone can access knowledge. That wasn't always the case. Back in the day, you can even go back 50 years ago, and knowledge was power. Whoever controlled that knowledge had the power, because not everyone had access to it. Now we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but now it's the manipulation of what people can get a hold of. That's the power.
True.
But, right? Can they muddy the waters? Because they have to, because we can all get the knowledge. Now, then you have to apply that knowledge.
Well, that's really hearing a leader. Anyone can get the knowledge. The real power is the application of the knowledge. So when I say I want to get, for me, that's my context. So when I say I want to pass on knowledge, I don't want to tell someone what to do. I don't want to sit down and say this is a leader. I want them to be. I know I'm successful if somebody looks at me and sees my actions and sees what I'm doing and gains. And it's unconscious. I'm not trying to pass anything on to anybody when I'm leading a team or a group or my family. But if somebody can absorb my example and for positive, that's what I mean by passing on knowledge. And I think that for me, I think that the language should change. Knowledge it's not power anymore. I agree with you, because listen, we could go, the doctor, here's a perfect example. The doctor was godlike 30 years ago. He would say something. When I go to the doctor, I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. And I'm checking every website, everything I can find out. But the application, I think the power is in the application of that knowledge. That's how I really feel.
And and I think you do yourself a disservice where you're saying you don't look to pass anything on, or tell someone how to do it. It's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's not telling them what to do or how to do it, but like telling them how to do it. I mean, you were involved with the Scouts, right? I mean, so you tell the boy how to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you watch as he does it, and what happens? He fails, right? Because
it's a safe place to fail, though. That's the point.
But we apply the knowledge in anything, right? We apply the knowledge, and usually the first time applying the knowledge results in failure. Either that or you get lucky. But you gotta I should have. The little subtleties of it. You get the knowledge, but then the application, it may be different in its different situation. Right? And I don't know if this is making sense. It's making sense here, but we're going to make the mistakes, and that's experience. And that from out of that, we get wisdom. So I just like a shift in context. He's like, no, we don't share knowledge. We share at our age with the gray hairs and the gray beard. We got wisdom, brother.
Wisdom.
And that comes from, and you see where I'm taking this, that comes from the fuck ups.
Oh, 100%.
I can't stand when I watch, other videos like this or other people talking about subjects, and it's like this. It feels like sometimes they're talking down or preaching.
Pontificate. Yeah.
That's a great word. Was Pontius Pilate. He stood up and said that with judgment, right? So it feels like to me sometimes when I'm listening to some people, I can't even name a name, but anyone like, well, wow, you just got there. Like, this is the way you've been all the time. They talk about the success and how to do it. And that never helps me when I'm in the fucking thickets.
Correct. Oh, I get that.
You know what I'm saying, I don't want to know like what happens up here. I need to know what happens down here. I need to know what happens when I'm not feeling my best and I have to be a leader. I need to know when I tried to be a leader and it was thrust upon me and I fucking failed, and then I was expected to step up again, like, and that struggle, right? So it's not just all talking about flowers and roses here. We're going to get into the thorns a little bit,
Good.
somewhere in this, maybe maybe not in our conversation, but I mean that's what I'm going to bring to this leadership conversation.
Listen, I mean, I can't even tell you, how many mistakes I made, how many times I think you said you have I don't know if you used the word superpower of disseminating information, and so people can understand it. I have an internal superpower of observation, and that really has helped me as a leader. I think I made a post about leadership is, let your life be a canvas for somebody to look at, all of it. And I got great advice at a very young age. I was very fortunate. And the advice was, when you're being led by someone, shut up, look, listen, and look at everything they do. And even if they're the worst leader, you're going to learn from them. You're going to learn what doesn't work or what might not work for you. So, even when we're leading and we make a mistake, as long as you own it and correct it and let your team give their feedback, there's something learned there, and the key is not to keep doing it.
Yeah. So I figured it out. I got it on my phone. We got the
You FIO'd it, huh?
yeah, I figured it out. We got Mike Charman out there. Endless Eric finally got on. Nice. Jonathan Rudolph, but he couldn't stay. Scott Epstein. What's up, Scotty?
Oh, we got Epstein. All right, my man.
Michael Smith, two others. I don't know who the other two like. So great to have you men out there. So some of the men know you that are on the field, but like for the other men, who are you, brother? You know who I am a little bit, and they're learning about you, I guess. But like, what should I? Or I know you're humble like that.
I don't. You asked me to write a bio. It took me like 5 days to just get my butt to sit down and do it, because I just was like, wow, I struggle with that. I don't want to,
Okay, so I'm gonna embarrass you then. I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Okay, because I know how it is. I know how it is, but this is all it's all accurate. I had it fact checked, and it's all accurate.
Well, I trust your fact check. I'll leave it at that.
So the men listening, it's Chris Estevez, 60 years old, father of 2 successful adult children, graduate U.S. Marine Corps Officers Candidate School, U.S. Marine Corps vet reaching rank of captain, C3. He's got his BBA in finance from Pace University, MBA in economics from Michigan State University, graduated Fairleigh Dickinson Certified Financial Planning University. He's got 33 years as a certified financial planner, registered investor advisor, and accredited wealth manager. Chris has held leadership positions since he was 19 years old. He has led men and women at every level in stressful combat type situations, as well as business, spiritual, sports, and men's work, and his family. He is serious about his role as a leader of his family and believes that being a father is job number one. Currently, Chris owns and is the executive director of his investment and financial planning practice. He employs 8 people with the shortest tenure of 9 years. Chris is also a serial entrepreneur, being an investor and owner of several businesses. For fun, he's an avid outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman, biker, and boxer. He could be called an adrenaline junkie in a good way. Most importantly, Chris is a true believer in Jesus Christ. You will find that he believes he has a lot to learn about leadership. Very nice. And
so the last part of that is all true. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I believe I have a lot to learn about leadership, and I'll continue to do that forever. I think it's important for me to do that, so that I can improve myself, improve the people that work with me and for me and my family, and men. I take it serious. I take men's work very seriously. I think you know that, Frank.
Oh, absolutely. It's serious work, and for me, it's been a place where I can contribute, which is important to me. My
Whoa.
feeds my purpose. So it's been a great place for me to contribute, and I've gotten an awful lot. I mean, a shit ton.
Yeah, so now let me put you on the spot. So
Yeah.
I know Frank Trattini about 15 years. Stood in a circle with Trattini as a teammate. Way back in the day, he was my point man, and then when I was a point man, he was my point team manager. And I've learned some of the finer points in leadership that I use today from Frank. Frank and I, the good thing about Frank and I is that we are, while we are the same, we are two different personalities. And I'm able to glean some of his personality traits for my betterment when I'm leading people. So I put you on the spot. I'm not going to let you get away with just putting me on the spot. So I'm complete there. What do you want to know? Like, what do you want to know? Where are we going? Talk to me, man.
Oh, if I was asked, I mean, just to start the conversation off and see where it goes, what was your most? Tell us about, when I say difficult leadership situation that you failed at. I want to go right.
Oh no, that's good. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Let me think. There's so many.
No, there's one, right? There's one that, like,
I know one. Yeah, there's one.
Yeah, that one I fucked up. I know how I fucked up, or you just put in an impossible situation or whatever it was. Just
it's
there's one, man. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's one of my first leadership. One of the first times I was put in a leadership role.
Okay.
I was 20 years old, and I'm leading people, that are 40 years old. I was in diapers when they would, doing the things I'm trying to lead them through. That was really hard. It was hard to gain respect. It was hard to gain attention. I fucked up and got taken out. And it was all for a reason. And the people that took me out knew exactly what they were doing. And then they put me back in. But that was when I was in the Marine Corps, one of the sergeants said, "You better relax before you get fragged right here in the United States of America." So that was a big failure for me. But boy, did I really! But it wasn't. It really wasn't. I learned so much from that. I really did. And my saving grace was the people around me who wanted me to succeed as a leader. There were people I was leading that took me aside and said, "I'm going to give you things. I want to help you because I want you to succeed, because we all need to succeed." And I learned from, if I could say the main thing I learned from that failure was that I need to make sure that I listen to the people I'm leading and that I allow them to lead me. I learned that. I learned that. And that failure could have been critical. If I took it the wrong way, I would have never got another shot. I never would have got another shot.
So if I can take you back, was that one situation? Was it a little bit of a prolonged situation?
It was prolonged. Sounds like a long time, but it was like a couple of months situation.
Right.
And my mistake was I was I was trying to manage. I was trying to manage people like things. You
Well,
know,
that's my question was going to be, how were you leading at that point? What was your leadership style at that point? Like, what were you doing to lead?
an authoritarian boss,
Got it.
and that is not good. You know, maybe you can get away with that when you're for a little while when you're leading people that have less experience than you. But when you're leading people that have more experience than you, yeah, that doesn't work. You know, that's a recipe for disaster. It really
Yeah,
is.
I would say for me, to be the authoritarian, because that has to happen sometimes, right? Because
Yes, yes.
this conversation, and hopefully the men know or whatever. I'm going to throw the archetypes in there and everything. So there's sometimes with the archetypes, you got to throw in that authoritarian. You got to do it this way. But man, you better have the respect of all the men or people, and you better know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, and you better be able to. And the reason why they're going to follow you, in my opinion, is they know that if it doesn't go right, it's on you.
100%.
Right? That you're going to own that. And when they feel that confidence, yeah, you can follow, but it can sound the same way. You were probably trying to emulate that. I'm going to guess you were probably trying to emulate that.
Yeah, and I think the key, I think the key to that, you said style. You know, I bristle when someone says, "Hey, what's your leadership style?" I say, at any given time, it could be it could be 10. You know, you can't. For me, my mistake was that was my go-to style. It can't be, like you said. Sometimes you got to use that, and also when you're using that, I think I put. I mean, I live by this. That I put something 12, the Marine Corps 12 principles of leadership. I have that framed in my office, and I put it on there. And one of them is know every single task that you're asking your people on your team to do. You have to. So if you're being and telling somebody to do something and you don't know the task, well, that falls on deaf ears. And that basically was my youthful, exuberance and my mistake. And that was advice I got from a very, very seasoned man in my platoon who said, everything you ask somebody to do, you better be able to do yourself. I remember that like it was yesterday in my head, we kid around about the technology, right? Delegated, I said, but I do know how to, my way around technology, especially when I'm asking somebody to do it and delegating it. So I think, it's interesting. You said that authoritarian style, and you made a really good point. It was nuanced. You said sometimes you have to do that, but it can't be your go-to. You can't be. I believe that gets old.
Yeah, well, when I say sometimes you have to do it in a crisis situation.
Yes, absolutely.
In a crisis situation, you need one singular voice, and you're not going to debate with something that's like needs to get done right now. Earthquake, boom, and you got a fire, boom, you trap, something like that. That works. And when everyone pulls in one direction, great things can happen, and that's what that type of leadership will do. If the men follow with it. But yeah, that's your constant, I don't know. It's you better be right all the time with me.
Yeah, listen, that's not a leader. If that's all you are, you're a boss. Right. Being a boss and a leader is, it's just two different things, And the other thing I learned from that mistake was everybody's different. Okay, if you have 25 people on your team, there's 25 different personalities, and you have to talk and deal with each one and find what makes them tick. You really do. That I'm proud of my team at work. That my lowest tenure is 9 years. My practice manager is with me 21 years. That means no one's leaving. Listen, people are going to get, a job offer if they have knowledge 3 times of what I would want to pay them, and they leave. I understand that, but no one's leaving out of dissatisfaction. And I think it's because I learned that it's important for me to learn about all of my people. It really is. If somebody's kid is sick, if somebody, I need to know that might be on their mind. I need to know that. If somebody's going through a divorce, hell, I was that person. They're going to get distracted. I mean, listen, my practice manager came to me when I was 6 months separated and closed the door and said, "You're distracted like I've never seen before." And she told me, "Listen, we have a business to run here." She led me. I was getting led astray. You can't stay home and not call me for 3 days. And that's important. Your people, you have to know your people, and you have to be vulnerable to let your people know you as a leader. You have to admit your weaknesses as a leader, and so that your people can fill those gaps in. It's important. It's important to me as a leader.
Right. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of. When I'm hearing you talk, I'm kind of translating it to different books on leadership and team building. That I used to follow with Patrick Lencioni, and his work on being. And I've done this with teams. I've done this with when I had my business, iStar Consultants. With that CEO, and have helped that man to be vulnerable with his executive team.
Yeah.
Personally, and we don't want to do that. It's hard to do. It's not an easy thing to do.
It isn't easy. It really isn't.
Because that's not how as men, that we've been trained, right? Or doctors, it's like hold it in.
Strong silent type, right?
Silent type, or strong loud type, or whatever, but as that leader, that CEO, that business leader, what I found when I work with them is they feel that they're expected to have the answer, and how scary it is when they don't have the answer, right? But guess what? If you have your team, if you break that down, you have your team, you can go to your team and say, "Guys, I don't know what the fuck to do. Let's figure it out." Right? And you create the team, and it's like, what a relief if you can do that. But if you have this feeling like, no, I have to have the answer. That's the trap of leadership. If you allow it to trap you, right?
That's right.
Has that ever happened? Listen, I know you've been at this a long time. You've been working on yourself a long time, so I don't know. But have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
Where I thought I had to have all the answers?
I felt like that before you realized, "Whoa, let me ask them for help."
Yeah, I'm going to go out of the business realm. Okay. When I became a father, I was petrified. And let me tell you something. I had an amazing example of a father, and I was lucky. But I remember my dad, we got together, a lot when he was alive, and he liked to smoke cigars and drink bourbon. So we had that in common. And I remember my son was like 6 or 7 months old. And my father said, "Hey, you haven't really called me. How's everything going?" And I looked at him and I said, "I don't know what the hell I'm doing." And I sometimes I don't even sleep at night. So yeah, I thought I had to know everything. And he just started cracking up, laughing. And he said to me, "Well, this is one," and men on the call are not going to get this, but you will, because this is one time where FIO doesn't apply. You need to ask other fathers your age. You need to ask me. But when I became a father, I thought I had to know everything. And they have these books, first time father, whatever. And I'm reading these books. You know me, I'm a voracious reader. I'm reading these books. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know that. How am I going to do that? I have to go to work, So I think I was like that when I was a father. And I was also like that when I first left the fold of somebody else's business and started my own. But again, I don't know what it is. I was fortunate. The person I left had no nothing but goodwill for me, and I called him all the time. May he rest in peace. He's not with us anymore. And if it wasn't for him, I don't even know if I would have succeeded, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I thought I had to have all the answers.
Gotcha.
You know?
So, yeah, so that tells, and that's why you're here tonight. One of the reasons, right? Because you've experienced, like I said, we've both experienced men giving us their wisdom from their
100%.
and that's what this whole integrated man website's about, right? Is, for me at least, sharing this wisdom openly, and hopefully men that have will learn something from it.
I hope so, and I hope I learned something from it. Listen, I'm that the site, the integrated man is like my go-to. I go to it. It's one of the first things I look at when I'm doing a social media thing. I read what men write. I want to see what I can pick up from it. And I'm the kind of person, if something pops in my head, I'll put it there. I'll put it there. I focused on leadership things. And the other thing that was really hard for me was to be a communicator, to be a communicator. I had to learn that one of the most important attributes of the leader is not to withhold knowledge, not to withhold information, not to be that dark magician, to really communicate with whoever I'm leading, in the capacity that I'm leading them. I'm not going to I wouldn't talk to my 5-year-old son the way that I would talk to, a 40-year-old that works for me, but that sharing of information was a skill I had to learn.
Yeah. I'm slightly distracted because I got one of those downloads that I get. And as we've talked here, right? And maybe because you said the integrated man, and for the men listening that don't know what that, if you haven't heard that before, because I know we got some new men that popped into the group over the last couple of weeks. It's about integrating different parts of ourselves, and I talk about the archetypes. King, warrior, the magician, and lover. The four of those together is who I am. It's who we are as men. There's a lot of other archetypes, but the idea is that I'm in the middle. We're in the middle, and we have access to all those archetypes. And as we're talking, you just said the dark magician, sharing the information and not withholding it. Right? That's the magician. And
absolutely.
Before you said, you got that great lesson that someone said, learn how to do everything. Be able to do what you're going to ask those to do. You have to be able to do, and I always held, when I was in my king energy, slightly differently, but when I share this with a lot of people, when I'm willing to do anything, like every task, when I'm willing to do every task, miraculously, I don't have to do any task.
Oh, that's so true. It's unbelievable.
I'll clean the bathroom, and for the weekend that we do, I was like, oh shit, the bathroom needs clean. Let me go and then all of a sudden someone's rolling up with a mop and they're cleaning it. I'm like, wow, okay.
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time for me. So it's like, so I heard that, and then you also said, knowing your people, right? Being in a relationship, that R in the RCA that we talk about,
right.
Being in a relationship and knowing your people. That's the lover, being in, in that creation. And we really haven't talked too much about the warrior in the conversation, so that's, I just put those three things and integrated, and how you seamlessly move in between the archetypes, and there is no style. The style of no style, Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do of leadership,
You just move into what needs to be done at the time, and listen, you know how I am about how I feel about the archetypes. I mean, I'm going through my day half the times like, king energy there, even the shadow.
Yeah.
I was in the shadow there, but you know what? I chose to be there. If you choose to be
Right.
there, that's different than if it's chosen for you. But yeah, I mean, those archetypes are just so in the forefront of leadership. You know, I mean, listen, I use a lot of sports and military because it's who I am. But for instance, about knowing your people, my guy for me is Bill Parcells. I mean, he knew that if there was a guy dogging it, I have to embarrass this guy. He's going to respond to that. But then if there's another guy not doing his job, I can't embarrass this guy because he's just going to go into a shell. I have to give him some different kind. I can't give him tough love in front of everybody. He was great at that. And listen, General Patton, before he led the artillery when it was horses, he was cleaning horse shit off the field. So, I mean, that all the tasks, knowing your people, communicating, and caring about your people. I mean, the ultimate goal of a leader is, of course, to get your vision met and to get people to buy into that vision, but it's to take care of them, I mean, inside that vision, and to make them fulfilled. So, I mean, that's really all the archetypes right there,
Right.
But,
Yeah, I mean, the archetype. I mean, listen, you heard me say this before, but the archetypes are just a way to describe what already is. So once you have that language, for me, once I have this language, it's easy to overlay it on everything, and
true.
it's like the Matrix, reading like Neo could read the signals and see everything. But we're not talking so much. I get off track with the archetypes. I want to kind of keep it at the leadership, and we've been talking. And the conversation naturally kind of went to being the leader, being a leader, and that's what the leadership is. But like we started off saying, the conversation was it's such a deep. There's a lot of depth to it, So, what do you think about? And you mentioned it, the men that were on your team originally when you failed, when you had that failure, the early failure. Is that you had men teaching you, so they were leading, even though they were followers. They weren't the leader; they were still leading, right? How does that? How do you, as a man that is a leader in a lot of aspects, and men, people come to you because you are a leader and you don't shy away from it. So people come to you for that leadership spot. I know that you've been, back when you lived in Farmingdale, New Jersey, they asked you to be on the board or something, run for a political, you're just that guy, right? I mean, you're just that guy where they're going to say, oh, he can do it. He's capable. He's got that king energy that can see it. Let's ask him to lead. And you can step into that role easily and do it multiple times. But there's other times when now you're not the leader. How do you make that transition?
So for me, there's no doubt that my context and my way of being is that I'm at my best as a leader when I'm a good follower. All right. So what do I mean by that? Every great leader had to learn how to follow first. I mean, nobody came out of the womb like this thing. Like, I laugh when somebody says, he's a born leader. Oh, so he was, Elon Musk was born to lead Tesla. No, he wasn't born to lead anything. He learned, he followed. He was brought along. I'm still a good follower. And you know what? Everyone's a leader. Everyone. Because you have to lead yourself. But to lead yourself, you have to be able to follow. So I want to be the best follower that I can possibly be when I'm not the leader. Okay? I want the leader to be able to come to me for advice, for whatever task he needs done. That's following. It's not hard for me to follow. It really isn't. The thing that I got to a point, though, where I want to pick who I follow. that could be a fatal flaw, or it can be helpful. But back in the day, I didn't get to pick who I followed, and I learned how to deal with that, and I learned how to be the best follower that I could be. And I think people recognize that and gave me the opportunity to lead because I could follow. So if you're the leader if you're the CEO, you need managers, right? You're not, Steve Jobs didn't, he had managers, all these great corporate leaders, all these great sports, the head coach has a defensive coordinator. He wants to know that he's going to lead the defense, but he's going to follow me as the head coach. So you have to be a follower and a leader at the same time, all the time in your life, all the time. I don't believe there's any wiggle room there. Great leaders know how to follow.
Okay. I don't disagree with that, but I'll talk about myself and when I was younger. And to a less extent today, but it still isn't gone. When I'm in that the group situation where I am not the leader, and the leader is not leading effectively, it's really fucking hard for me not to exert what's missing, fill in what's missing. And I don't try to usurp the leadership, but sometimes that happens. I mean, I felt it, in organizations where I'll just say something and then people go like, "Oh yeah, that's what we want in our leader," but I'm not the leader. And then they go back to this guy and he's just like like a noodle,
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's like, did I just? And it's one situation I was in, I felt like that, like his statue just went roof, and I didn't mean to do it. Just the way I spoke, it's the way he should have been speaking, and I wasn't speaking against him. I wasn't speaking against him. I was speaking to the same thing he was saying. The way that I said it, impacted these people, and he lost that credibility in that moment. It's like, I'm fucked.
Yeah. So for me, that boils down to the comment I made. I want to pick who leads me, right? But you can't do that all the time. So it took a long time. I was like you, but I learned. I think I'll call it picking my spots. So here I am, let's say in your situation, we're in an organization, right? And if the leader fails at one thing at one given point in time, and it's not going to blow the whole thing up, I'm going to let the guy fail. But when the team isn't around us and we're alone, I'm going to ask, not his permission, but I'm going to ask him, hey, it might have been better if you handled this way. I've experienced this. I've handled it this way. Why don't you try it? Because I don't want, he's going to have to be continued. If he can't be taken out, and I don't want to be the leader, and it's going to serve him to continue to lead, I don't want him to keep failing. But I try, it doesn't always work, to pick my spots when I'm making those corrections. I'm not going to follow somebody into a dark hole and fail if I know there's a better way. At that given point in time, it might not be practical to wait, but anytime I can wait, I will wait. Listen, not breaking confidentiality, but this has happened on men's teams, that we've been on. And I'm the guy picking up the phone even before we get home from the meeting saying, pick up your phone. We need to talk a little bit. So, right. I try to follow the man and also lead him at the same time. And I always start that conversation off with great leaders know how to follow who they're leading. Listen, I hate the term lead from behind, because that's misinterpreted. But in its purest form, the way it's meant to be is that, in the wolf pack, the lead is in the back sometimes, so he can oversee everything, and that's how I kind of look at it. Everybody on my team, if I'm the leader, I need them to be a leader. I don't shy away from having strong leaders on my team. And I don't shy away from being the strong leader while I'm following. I just try to pick my spots. That's all. Because I don't want to, I think you used the word, I don't want to seem like I'm usurping somebody's leadership authority. But that's tough. It's when you're a leader like you, that's hard to do. I find I struggle with that myself.
Yeah, that's so what I kind of like what you said, because that's king energy, right? Who sits on the top is the king.
Yeah.
So what I try to do, at least to now that I know the archetypes and using the archetypes, well, let me go in as the magician. I said that whole thing that every author has his Merlin. So
correct.
I try to be the Merlin for that, for that the prince king, the young king, or the struggling king. You need that someone to bounce it off, someone that's to, listen, dude, you got no clothes on. The king has no clothes. That's the magician,
right.
But not do it like, look, he's got no clothes on. Like,
right, you don't want, yes,
right?
exactly.
Not embarrass them, but how do you come up to them and let them know that they're not delivering what they think they're delivering, like the men in your what was it, a squad back when platoon, right? Some of them came over to you and said, listen, kid, you're going about this wrong.
Correct. But you know what? They were so good. I didn't know it then, but when I think back, none of them told me in front of the others. None of them told me in front of the others. And that's a skill, to go from being a leader to a follower. And great leaders, man, they can do that on a dime. I'm not saying I can. I got a lot to, to learn there. Even though I've been leading for years, but great leaders can do that on a dime. Like I said, when I think of leaders, I think of sports, business, and everything. I don't know if anyone, if men are in our era on the call, but you know who Lee Iacocca is, right? You remember him, right?
Absolutely.
Lead, follow, or get out of the way. Well, he was telling himself that. In his book, he said plenty of times, when I was CEO, I just got the hell out of the way because my team knew what the heck they were doing. And I would have just gummed up. He used that word. I would have just gummed up the works, and that's greatness right there. I mean, that's absolute greatness, when you can do that. Great quarterbacks do that, I mean, I saw an interview with I bristle using him because I'm a sports fan. He's not my favorite person, but with Tom Brady, and he was an amazing leader because the Patriots were that good for a long time because of his skill, obviously, but he would always take less money. He would renegotiate his contract if he thought they could get a guy and pay that guy and be within the salary cap that it would make him better. And in his interview, I'm trying to remember who was interviewing him. I can't. They asked him about the huddle, and he goes, "Listen, we're in the huddle, and when I have 10 plays on a call, there are times when a player says, I think this is going to work because of what I see when I run down the field." I'm paraphrasing, and he goes, "And that's the play I call. I didn't think of it. I didn't." And he didn't say this, but right there, he was being a follower. I forgot who the little running back was. I think it was Wes Welker, the wide receiver. He goes, Wes Welker in a game, sometimes he called 10, 15 plays in a game in that huddle. So, that's what, what makes him a strong leader is he wasn't even, slighted by that. He didn't think that usurped his leadership authority. For being a follower.
That's a little. I get what you're saying, and I just, when you're playing team sports, it's team. And what he understood, what I'm hearing in that story, is not just being a good leader, is knowing the value of team.
Absolutely.
Always the leader when he's on as the quarterback. By definition, he's the leader, and by who the fuck he was the leader. Right. So I would say that he was never the follower, especially when he was on the field. Right. Now, it doesn't mean he didn't take advice. It didn't mean he wasn't going to be a team player. He was a great team player. But I guarantee you, he called the play in the huddle.
I called the play.
But he called the play, right?
He called the play, but we're gonna like agree to disagree. He had to follow. He followed. I'm telling you, he followed. And the other words mean a lot when you're leading. So about 10 years ago, the positions in my practice and in the industry, it was practice manager. In any function, operations manager. I don't have managers in my function. I have a practice leader. I have an operations leader. It says it on their business card. I got rid of that word manager. For me, it has a negative connotation.
Sure.
In a leadership role, marketing leader. Everyone on my team has somewhere in their job description or in their title, they have the word leader, so they can take ownership to what they need to do. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's inherent in the work.
Absolutely.
Ownership is inherent in the word. When I step up to be the leader, and that's why I'm less apt to do it these days. Right? Because I'm more aware of what I want to be responsible for.
Oh, I could feel you.
Or I was younger, I was like, yeah, let me be the leader.
Let me do that.
And I was I'm responsible for this. And then there was that, there was that feeling of that responsibility that was burdensome. And it was burdensome, and
a lot of weight on you.
Right? I mean, I was put in positions, and I worked for the railroad. As a yard master, which means that I ran the yard. I ran the largest passenger rail yard in the country. That means everything that happened in that yard was mine. I was responsible for it.
I feel that. I get that.
And it's I can see, like, looking back on it, I to be honest, maybe I was just ignorant to it. But I didn't feel the weight of it back then. I handled it, but when I look back, I was like, wow. I've thought to myself, why? Why was I able to just deal with it and not let that? You see with some people, some men, you see this, right? And you've dealt with leaders also, that weight of the leadership really, it is. You can feel it on them, right? Like they're weighed down by that leadership, and it just gets me thinking, like, what's the difference? What's the difference between that type of person that lets that responsibility weigh them down versus me, where I had this responsibility, but I didn't feel weighted down by it.
I can't answer that question because I'm in your camp. I was that guy, I'm ready. Let's go. I didn't mind. I use this word all the time, and we use it as a joke. I didn't mind being voluntold. Volunteer, voluntold. You're going to be the leader. Okay, yeah, let's go. I'm the leader. Fine. But other men would be like, oh, can you pick somebody else? I'm not ready. I'm always was of the. I was always of the thought process like you're ready. You got to be ready. You got to be ready for anything, and you know, it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's that age old question: Are leaders born? Are leaders made? I go in between that. I go in between. No, they're not born. Yes, they're born. They're made because they learn. So I go. I vacillate with that. I don't even know what the right answer to that is. But I do know. I feel this strongly in my heart that every person, especially every man, needs to have some leadership ability and skill. He's got to lead himself. And I believe I'm speaking personally from what I see, that we have a lot of people that don't know how to lead even themselves, and I want to be a part of moving that dial. That's why I do the men's work.
Specifically, and we do have some men listening here. Justin Littleton just said to my comment, you were born to do it. And Justin, thank you. But, the same thing, he's born leader. I think I don't know. I don't, because it is a skill. Leadership is a skill. I teach it, and I've seen men that become better leaders. So if they can become better leaders, then what happened? Were they born to do it before they learned how to do it? So I don't because I teach leadership, and I've seen men own that and step into it and thrive with that. Like that guy before wasn't a born leader, and now he's a born leader. Wait a second, what just fucking happened? He just learned how to be a leader.
He learned
it, and he did it. And usually when I've seen that happen, that transformation happen, it's with the support of other people.
100%. Right? Frankie, I've seen men, I'm going to go back to my days in the service, that couldn't tie their own shoes. And I don't use that as hyperbole. I mean, they couldn't, like, don't you know how to dress? And then 2 years later, they're leading men in some sticky situations. So, I think that, I think as long as men are willing to step into it, and there are men around them that are patient and willing to teach, I think that, listen, I don't want this to sound conceited. I think that I can help any man be a leader. I really do. From the shyest man who didn't want to take any risks, I've seen that. Listen, we know men. You and I know men that couldn't get out of their own way, and now they're leading businesses and their families. And I don't know, were they born and it was it was hidden, or did they learn it?
That's I know for it's being someone that has been told I'm a born leader. I know that that's bullshit, but I don't know where I learned it. I don't, and just as we're having this conversation, what I'm thinking, going back to my earliest days, almost, it's like playing sports. Because I had some athletic ability when we played football, I was the quarterback, and when we played baseball, I was the pitcher from a very young age, and I was fairly good, not great, but fairly good, could hold my own with most people I played with. So I guess I was just kind of put into that position at a young age, and it was probably kind of expected of me, and I probably had early success. Right, so I didn't shy away from it. That's the only thing I can put my fingers. At a young age, when we try something, we don't have success. That's damaging, and we don't even know it's damaging. We don't even
Yes.
know how damaging. I'm talking about at a really young age. I'm talking about like 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
right?
sure, absolutely. I see it all the time.
Right? You have that failure, and unless you get someone that says, "Come on, let's try it again," um, and even then, they no, I don't feel like it. How come? I don't want it now. They're afraid to fail.
Yeah, it's funny. It's
Fail, right?
funny.
Just let me finish this thought, right? So we need that support. They need that support, and that doesn't fucking go away, man. That same attitude of that 8, 9, 10-year-old that just failed. We see that. We've seen that with men. 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, and you need that mentorship. You need that mentorship because, to a certain extent, and when the stakes get higher, you can speak to this better. The consequences of the failure are high, right? So making a mistake has more gravity, right? So, fuck, do you need other men? Do you need someone that's, hey, I got to talk this over with you. This is what I'm thinking of doing. What it's, you know.
Collaboration is really the key. It's funny. A sports story. I coached baseball. Kids and young adults for years, and I remember this team we had. We were really good, but it was 13 individuals. That's what this team was. They were 15 years old. Everyone thought they were the superstar. They thought they were this, they were that. So we went into this competitive, they called it travel. I don't know what they call it, baseball now. And I knew it. And we're playing our first game, and I'm like, okay, let them be individuals. We got our ass handed to us. We should have never got out. But the team we played as a team. I had kids give them this, I would give a kid a sacrifice sign, he'd swing away. I know I can hit this pitcher, coach. That's why I swung. And we sat in a circle, and I said, how you all feel? Oh, this sucks, and we don't want to do this anymore. I mean, this is hard, whatever. I said, okay, so you can leave here today, and you can carry this feeling with you forever. Or you can say, I never want to feel like that again. And I'm going to do whatever I have to take not to have this feeling, and I'm going to be led by somebody who knows what to do so you don't have that feeling anymore. I find that in men. They fail once, twice, and they say, this feeling sucks. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And they could be 1 inch from needing to change one thing in their leadership style or how they lead, and they can be super successful, and they never get there because they're not willing to take the chance.
So this is a perfect way to segue right into that personal leadership, right? Because that's I think that's what you're talking about there. That's where it hits me. It's not that the leader or anything. Now to be that, because we're speaking in a group with all men. We had one man that just chimed in. Who did he say? Eric. Eric raised his hand, said, needs mentorship. So there's men out there that need it. So speak to that point, being that leader right in that moment after failure. How do you lead yourself to success?
You're saying, so speaking personally, if I fail, how do I lead myself to success?
You said before about, being a leader and about being a leader for yourself.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And then you just gave the story of seeing it with men, and they fail, and they fail once, and they fail twice, and they get that sucky feeling, and they either give up or don't attack or whatever, be passive, whatever they do. They do a lot of different things, right? They can give up, they can get distracted, they go into the shadow. I'll just say go into the shadow, do things that don't serve them. So at that point, I think that's where that stepping up as a leader for yourself in your life.
Yeah.
Because you alluded to it before, but in that moment of, that didn't work. Oh, that sucks too. Another gut punch. It's easy to stay down. Don't get up and get hit again. But you got to
one word. It's actually 2 words, but one. When I'm trying something and I fail, I know my why. I know why I want to succeed at it. I know my purpose. If I know my why and I know my purpose, then then I'm going to continue. If I have a handle on my why, speaking personally, if I know my why, I feel I'm unstoppable. That doesn't mean I'm not going to fail 15 times and the 16th time I'm going to succeed. It's just, I'll use the father. I mean, I made so many mistakes, but my why was I wanted to raise, I had two, if I had three, whatever. I wanted to raise two productive, good people. And that was my why. That was my purpose. In business, what's my why? My why is not really to make money anymore. Okay, I'm past that. I want to help the people that I work with reach their goals, whether it be marry their daughter, retire forever, retire when they're 40, whatever. So I feel if a man knows his why, I think he's unstoppable. I really do. And what that boils down to in a leader is a vision. What's your vision? What's your why? And can you get your team to buy into your vision and let them know what's in it for them so they can reach their why?
I'll take the team out of it right then. Let's take the team out of it, because a lot of time, if it's personal leadership, and Justin just typed in personal leadership, and that's where we kind of transition into, you got to be, I know for me, a lot of times, even though I know my why, I don't want to act in purpose. When I get kicked in the balls a couple of times, I forget it for a little while. So I forget a little while so I can lay on the count. I take my 10 count. I take the 10
That's okay. You can take your standing A count. Everybody takes their standing A count, bro.
Fuck. I remember my why, man. Then you get back up, and with the fear, when you get back up, I'm like, and you're a boxer, you know this better than me, but the martial arts.
That's why I said standing,
right? I mean, if I get up, I better be able to fucking fight.
That's right.
Right? Don't fucking get up and get hit again, man. Right? That you got to make that choice. Then, when I don't know if I'm. Yeah. So.
No, it's exactly right. So listen, after failure, you got to take your standing A count. Anyone who says, yeah, I failed 10 minutes ago, I'm raring to go right now, I'm calling bullshit, every time. But you got to take your standing A count. You got to regroup, listen, again, I'm going to use history. George Washington kept losing, okay, and kept retreating. And the Continental Congress said, we're going to fire you. He goes, no, I'm losing on purpose. And they're like, what? He goes, yeah, I'm drawing them in. Look, we're going to have them surrounded. They're going to keep on coming in more and more and more and get more overconfident. So I know I'm losing the win. So every time you fail, you learn what not to do. I use the boxing again. I remember one of my boxing coaches in the Marine Corps said, what's the matter? I said, I don't like getting hit like that. He said, then don't let that happen again, if you don't like it, So, you got to take your standing A count. That's natural, man. Totally natural.
Yeah.
How many battles did we lose, in the Second World War? How many teams rebuild? Bill Parcells, 3-12, I think he was one year, and he told the Maras, I know what I'm doing. I'm weeding out. We're learning. Don't fire me, and he produced. He took a standing A count. So, how many, what they call them, comeback players of the year, are there in sports? This guy was down and out, guys like Geno Smith, guys like, now he's, there's so many of them.
The kid that's quarterback in Tampa Bay, what's his name?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield. I'm happy for the guy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to get that award this year, but I'd give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I bet you he'll tell you, I was a real jerk when I got drafted. I thought I was the next, the next thing since, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Y.A. Tittle, all of them combined. And he wasn't. He was a cocky son of a bitch.
He was cocky, but he had success. He had a lot of early success.
Yeah.
Then he got in a situation and he got hurt. And so I'm happy for that man anyway.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. It is fun to watch. Listen, we love it. We love a comeback story, and we're all comeback stories. I'm a comeback story, bro. I'm a comeback story. 7 years ago, a 24-year marriage ended. You saw my comeback. It took me time. I had to get off the canvas. And great leaders fail all the time. They lose battles. They lose businesses. I mean, I'm trying to think of some business leaders. I'm trying to think of business leaders whose companies didn't go bankrupt before they were successful. And there aren't many of them, there aren't many of them.
Let me see what's in the. We'll wrap this up soon. We got 9:15 now, so.
Time flew. What a great time I had.
And we've got some men that have been listening. Just I'll read something. Some of them going on here, just so you can see what going back. And it's easier for me to read them here, and I have it on my phone, but it's coming in weird. I think this was Justin said, switch back and forth from a leadership role, following role is a skill for sure.
100%.
More active listening, absolutely. That's a great skill to have as a leader. It's a great skill to have anywhere. It's active listening.
It's a great skill. Listen, it's a great skill when you're raising children. It's a great skill.
If you want to be in a relationship with a woman, learn active listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Matter of fact, I got to write that down because that's a training. I used to do that training on active listening. I could do something and put it in the group.
Yeah, let me know when that's coming out. I want to see that one. I could use that. Definitely. It's
all these skills. A lot of these skills of life are easy to do. The problem is being able to slow that moment down and make the choice of what to do. That's, to me, that's the tough part. It's like right there. It's like, fuck, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Right? How many, Matt, if you ever said, fuck, I knew I shouldn't.
Oh, no, I never said that.
I looking back and say, why did I do that? Right? That's just an error in choice. That's just an error in choice. And most of the time you knew what to do, but you just made a bad choice in the moment.
Agreed.
And that's what I'm all about is the power of conscious choice. And when we're doing that, that's when we're living an empowered life, whether that conscious choice was accurate or I shouldn't say, whether that conscious choice was a success or failure. Let's make it easy, right? So whether that conscious choice, the result of that conscious choice was a success or failure is less important to me for living an empowered life is to make that choice and own the results of that choice.
I
think that correctly. I mean, I know you know what I'm talking about.
I think I'm hearing what you're saying. Let me like personalize it. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning with that happy book.
Okay.
I'm happy when I'm making conscious choices in my life and I'm not letting life or someone else make the choices for me.
Right.
I don't know if that's what you're saying.
Yes.
But, and I learned that in a lot of places, but I learned it with the archetypes. I learned that it's not necessarily bad to be in the shadow if the situation warranted that, and I made the choice to be in the shadow. But if I let an outside force, and this is kryptonite to a leader, if I let an outside force let me lose focus and I let it make decisions for me, or I put it on autopilot and I'm not making conscious choices, I think I'm doomed to fail. I really do.
Yeah. So what else do we have here? This has been great. Switch back and forth. I'm sure coming up. More leading roles in collaboration. A practice leader.
I like that word collaboration, by the way. That's a big one for me. I love that word.
Eric asked, where can I find the archetypes? Stick around, kid.
Yeah. You can reach out. You can reach out to a lot of men in this group that have archetype knowledge.
Well, listen,
Frank is the king on that.
Dealing with that, Eric, got the last, the first week in December, the second week in December, and the third week in December. You can go back in the group and see the videos. I gave an introduction to the archetypes, so that'd be a good place to start. Oh man, this is hitting home.
That's good.
That's actually incredible, being born with it, not knowing it, find it. That was Justin. Thanks, Justin. Eric needs love. Travel ball still the same. That's Shane. Doubtful this is coming. Let's talk about personal leadership for sure. I had two. Who is this? Let's talk about personal leadership for sure. I had 2 failed suicide attempts at 13. Just to be honest, I'm petrified to leave myself, and it's clear why. 1, I couldn't lead myself in some other direction. 2, I failed at trying, which speaks volumes if you have my perspective. Just to throw it out there, please, not a pity party or anything. Dude, no pity here. Like, thank you for ripping your fucking mask off and making yourself vulnerable. I'm sorry where I'm reading it here, and I'll keep it confidential so you know who you are out there. I'll let you take this first, brother. Did you?
Listen, let me do me a favor. I need 1 minute to get my plug. I just got a thing. My batteries are running low, and I don't want to disconnect. So can you give me 1 second? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Then I'll address it. So
yeah,
you do that. I can come back. So listen, that's what we were just talking about, right? I mean, the failure, having that perspective of, oh fuck, if I get up again, I'm gonna get, I don't have what it takes. There's that line from that movie Creed with what's his name, Michael Jordan Jr. and Sylvester Stallone, right? And he says something to the fact that we get knocked down, it's about getting up. But you get knocked down, and I know this line from Batman. It's like the reason why we get knocked down is to learn how to get up.
Yeah.
Right? The reason why we get knocked down is to learn how to get up. And in the martial arts, we learned how to get up. That's one of the things we used to do. We would get thrown, just like if someone threw you, you'd roll, and you got up. You rolled up, and you're up here. Right? You weren't, because there was no standing 8 count. Right? In a street fight, there's no standing 8 count.
No standing 8 count in the street fight.
And you don't want to stay on the ground. So you stay on the ground, you're going to get stomped. So you got to get up, but you can't get up and pop your chin out there like that. Right? That's stupid. And you're just going to fucking get hit again. So you got to learn to get up when you're in that fight, and you get up and you protect yourself, and you're coming out. You're coming out again. That's now we're talking about the warrior archetype. That's when you dig deep and you got to know your purpose. What am I here for? And unfortunately, I don't know, who I'm talking to out there, but I don't want to assume.
If I can interject.
Hold on 1 second. That's what you need to get. You need to get in touch with your purpose. Chris was talking about knowing the why. Men, we do not. If you don't have that purpose as an anchor, life will take you adrift. Right? You got to get your purpose. Right? And if you don't know it, get a purpose. But you all have one. I know it. Chris knows it. And I hope you know it. If you don't know it, keep coming back. I'll keep telling you. Go ahead, brother.
So this is an inherent challenge for men. And that inherent challenge is not to live on an island and not to not ask for help. If I could use that, that's not correct grammar, but men don't ask for help. Men live on an island. True strength forget about leadership. True strength in life is knowing when to and how to and why to ask for help. The strong silent type stereotype is bullshit. Sorry, excuse my French. The strongest men I know, and the man that raised me is the strongest man I know. I saw him ask for help time and time again. There's strength in that, and there's help out there, and that's what I'm going to end that part of the conversation with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak personally. I left men's work. I took a 3-year break, and this is about asking for help. 1 week after I found out that my 24-year marriage was over, I walked back into a men's circle to ask for help. The man running this knows that to be totally true because I walked into his circle. I'm complete.
Yeah, it's tough though, man.
It's very hard.
I have my theories. I talked about why I believe it's hard, but again, that's a skill. Right? That I see things as that we learn, or things that I'm able to learn. I just look at it as a skill. And if I want to be proficient at it, I've got to practice that thing. All right. Whether it's asking for help, I got to practice asking for help. Whether it's a 3-foot putt, I got to practice a 3-foot putt if I want to be proficient at it. These things in personal leadership. Well, if you don't know, ask. Right. And I'll be the first one to tell you, yes, there are such things as dumb questions. So even though I was raised with there's no such thing as dumb questions, I've always thought to myself, that's a dumb fucking question. Right? So, because you can't be lazy either. Right? And I see this with men, Chris. I see this with men that I think it's that shadow magician. And that's why I fucking see it. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure. What, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you didn't know which way to go? Like, don't you have a fucking compass? No, I don't have a compass. You have a cell phone? You got a compass on your cell phone. Like, and I'm using that as a metaphor, but there's some things out there, man, that I'm sorry. You come to me, I'll give a pat on you. I'll give a hug when you need a hug. I'll give you a pat on the back. But there's sometimes I'm going to give you a boot up your fucking ass.
That's leadership, different leadership styles, bro.
Right. But there's sometimes when people ask that dumb question, it's like because the answer was so easy to get. There's some answers that are hard to get, and you need that mentorship, and you get bogged down by the emotions or something, so you can't see out of it. But you got to take that personal responsibility also, and take that first step. And then maybe, hey, I found this knowledge, but I don't know what to do with it. And that's when you need a mentor. A mentor is different than a teacher. A mentor is going to teach you what to do with the knowledge and guide you. And a mentor will let you fail also.
That's what a mentor does.
Yeah.
Safe. If it's not critical. And listen, I believe that it all boils down to purpose. If you have a purpose, then you're coachable. Your mentor's going to be able to guide you. But we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose, and self-reflection on that purpose is really where to start. That's how I feel.
Beautiful. Yeah, me too. I mean, purpose is so important. So that's my anchor.
Yeah, man. 100%.
My anchor.
Without a doubt.
I've talked about this. It was a time in my life not too long ago that I had some really dark thoughts, and that's okay because they were just thoughts.
Exactly.
They were just thoughts. But what I had as my anchor was my purpose, and that dark thought was just getting in the way of me fulfilling, living into that purpose. But without that, Chris, without that purpose, like I could definitely understand how men get drifted away with those dark thoughts. And really that's one of the things, why I started this group, because I know that pain and do the men's work, because I've been through it, and I'm able to, when I go through the hard times, I can experience it. But thankfully, I've had the tools and the mentorship in the past, and somehow I'm able to fucking apply them and pull myself out.
Yeah.
And stay afloat and just move on and move to the next day.
For in self leadership, your purpose is your guiding light. It's like a bug going to the light. Your purpose is your guiding light. It keeps you going. It lets you survive the standing A count, and it lets you move forward. I'm going to leave it with that.
Yeah, man. This has been great. Thank you so much for your time.
I loved it.
We're at 9:30 now, so I don't want to keep the men any further. I also want to go check in on the national championship game.
Yeah. Yes. I think since I graduated from Michigan State, who I'm not rooting for.
Yeah, so I want to go check that out, see how it's going. But it's been great. Been great being on with you, brother. I appreciate you. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the men who joined us. Thank you for the group. Reach out through the group, reach out, personal message, whatever. Part of my purpose is helping men live into their best lives. I just gave you a little part of what my purpose is. So,
and thank you for all the men that tuned in. This is
absolutely
very energizing for me. Because part of my purpose is to be an agent of transformation through a higher level of consciousness. So the little bit that I can bring to that and raise the level of consciousness and cause someone to change for the better, that's what I'm here for. And thank you, my friend, for helping me bring that to these men.
Anything I can do, that.
I know that, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, man. Thank you, Frankie. I'll see you in person in about 3 weeks. All right, brother?
Unless I decide to come down to Florida.
The door's open. You just got to tell me to pick you up at the airport so you're not stranded. All right, brother? Take care. Have a good one. Good night.